Good morning, everybody. So this is my first official Q&A. I've got my coffee, I've got my questions here, and now it's time to actually deliver on my promise. Sorry, it's taken me a couple weeks longer than I had anticipated. I'm still getting over a really bad head cold, so that's why my sinuses and my voice sound a little bit funny right now. Hopefully this will leave me soon. It's been far too long. But anyways, moving on. The Q&A segment. I was talking to my helper, assistant, film girl crew, Rachel, and we decided that I had to give myself kind of like a cutoff time because I know many of you, well, you know me and I like to talk. So if you gave me 3 days, a month, I probably still couldn't cover half the information that I want to on each of the questions that you guys provided with me, and thank you for those who did. I really, really appreciate it because it kind of gave me at least a starting point. But what Rachel and I decided is that this is going to be called Q&A in 8, and I'm going to try to get through hopefully at least one question within an 8-minute period of time. Now, if I don't get through it all, what I'm going to do is either cover it in like a longer video segment, or I'll come back to it in a different Q&A in 8. So the plan right now is to do one about every week, every other week. It's hard because I'm teaching and that takes up a lot of my time this semester, but that is our plan. So thank you guys again for the questions, for supplying them. I'm going to start off with one that a lot of people have been actually messaging me about. It's the most popular trending question, and that's been ever since Ken released a video from SWIS that I talked about it, and then the podcast that I was on with Felkar on women and anabolics. And so it's funny because I'm being called the drug girl now, and I'm like, I'm just a researcher. I just have curiosity about this, and I happen to, I guess, think a little bit differently, and I've been able to do a lot of research on this topic. So that is what hopefully I can bring to you guys on it. So the question is, let me see here, where ladies can go to read proper solid information on steroid usage for women and the best way to rebalance hormones. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to tackle the first half of that question first. I don't know if the second half I'm going to be able to get into in this video, but you're probably going to be able to get my answer out of it as I explain the first part. So where can you go to get solid information on female anabolic use? So that's a great question because I would love to know. Unfortunately, with the history and also just the current state of the lack of knowledge about the female body and hormones, it's really actually hard for me to be able to recommend a resource on this. And I mean, at the end of the day, guys, it comes down to the individual. But let's start with the basics. Female anabolic use, the history of it actually is not known. I'm currently working on that for a chapter of a book. Maybe that's going to be the book that I can recommend in a couple of years. Who knows? But the history is really, really murky because it's one of those topics that's not only taboo, steroid use for men and women, but it's also a topic that it's got quite a bit of secrecy behind it because individuals were using drugs, as we know, for sport enhancing effects in about the 1950s, even a little bit before then, and then well into now. When they were previously, pre-1968, not drug tested, even then there wasn't a lot of conversation about what female athletes were doing. So what I've actually done with part of my research the last couple of weeks, I've been in the archives, is looking at all of the different medical studies that state what females and what kind of drugs were being used, what the usage was, going all the way back to about 1920, let's say 28. And it's really hard still for me to be able to say like, these are great, because the information they provide is so limited. It's also on clinical populations. A lot of it's on like women that had anemia, but the drugs they used were the common ones that people still use today. And actually, to be honest, I don't know if I should be telling you one of my findings already, but the side effects that they associate really aren't the ones that are commonly associated with female anabolic use today. And that is something that I will get into in a longer video. But that's your basic on the actual, I guess, joint studies. So when I get this question from coaches or at seminars, what I normally say to people is that you have to first, men and women alike, have to have an understanding of the female body. You have to understand the integration of systems. So if I go into, say, a training scenario and I'm trying to teach somebody how to squat, and I can't even list the muscle that they're supposed to be working, how the hell can I teach them how to squat? Yet, this seems to be common practice when it comes to drug use. And it's like people are these pseudo-pharmacists. It drives me absolutely up the wall because they have no bloody idea what people's bodies are doing, the physiology, the anatomy, even just what the systems are called. I had somebody not even know the name of the endocrine system, yet they were somebody that was asking me about drug use. Absolutely crazy. So please, let's start there. Let's start with an understanding of biology and physiology. Like I said, the integration of systems, because with sex hormones, it's not just like they're in isolation. It's not just like you can go in and, learn about the uterus and the ovaries, and hey, you have also production in your pituitary of androgens. No, you can't do that, because the sex organs, the reproductive properties also work with the thyroid, that also works with the pituitary, that also works with digestion, that works with your liver, that works with your capability to, produce insulin. The human body is a beautiful, amazing thing. And all too often people look at it in isolation. So, gear causes liver problems. Well, why? And how? And who? And where? And what type? So there's so many questions there that as let's say a conscious consumer, you need to really, really understand, not only for like the norm, but as it relates to your body. So for females, understanding your own reproductive, and I guess let's just say hormonal systems is really, really important. So is your period regular? Has it always been regular? Maybe it's only been irregular since you started training. How is your menses? Is it really, really is it the floodgates open and all hell breaks loose? Or are you somebody that has pretty much a standard period? Do you have any other types of, let's say, ovarian dysfunction, such as cysts or follicles? PCOS. I did a podcast with Phil on that on Monday, and I kind of talk about some of this stuff. But this is so important to know, because then you can apply that knowledge to the knowledge of not only the body and the physiology of it, but then also to the pharmacology. And there are some resources out there on the actual, the compounds that are kind of in the gauntlet of steroids, but they vary. So you've got clinical studies that do have a lot of discussions of pharmacology. You also have different types of just pharmacology textbooks. You've also got studies from, going back all the way to about 1935 or so, that talk about the compound, and then the supposed or suggested, I guess, effects of it. You've got more kind of pop culture textbooks like Leuven's Anabolics, which is a great resource. It's definitely one that is comprehensive in terms of the vast amount of material it covers. But then you've also got the classics like Duchenne's Underground Steroid Handbook. So those are kind of the places that you got to start. You got to go and you got to pick and choose and apply. It's all about application. Please apply. I beg you. People just don't do that. And this is, again, for the individual. So even if you read about the norms and you're somebody that's maybe got not the normal menses cycle, then you have to take that into consideration. You have to try to unpack and unparcel. It's almost like that metaphor that we're all onions. We really are. You've got to be able to know your layers, to be able to do and be healthy, and not just as it relates to drug use, but really ultimately as it relates to nutrition, supplement use, training, life, medications. If you're on any type of even prescription meds and you're not using this integrative approach, please take a step back and start to identify, because a lot of times what we find out as practitioners is that people are on certain compounds, whether it be prescribed or underground, and they really don't need to be. So when we look at the integration of systems, that's when things start to really come into light. So the other thing that is really, really important with this, with women, is also remember our hormones are cascading. They change throughout the month. So take a log. Get comfortable with knowing your own body. And male coaches, if you don't know, start talking to your clients. You got to understand these things. And you also need to treat almost each type of prep as it is almost like a science experiment. I mean, a lot of us did scientific method when we were in high school, and the idea about variables, super, super important. So look at your variables involved. Figure that out. Keep track of it. I mean, apps are beautiful things. Even something like on iPhones, you've got notes that you and your client can use and share them about, let's say, we're going to do a note on, vaginal discharge. Really important when you're adding a compound into your body that is changing the hormonal makeup. And guess what? That's not just your anabolics. That can be an antibiotic. That can be anything from, you've just changed your diet, you've done a complete overhaul, and your pH levels are starting to shift. You have different types of discharge, ladies, that you've got to keep track of because it's a really great sign. Same thing with your digestion. If all of a sudden you've got that period bloat 24/7, yet no menses ever comes and it lasts for weeks and weeks and weeks on end, talk to your coach. Figure out what's going on there. Let me tell you, it's a hormonal response. So you've got to keep an eye on that. I'm almost out of time. Crap, this is really hard to do it in 8 minutes. Maybe like Q&A in 20, let's see. No, but I really do. Thank you guys for watching, and I hope that does give you at least somewhere to start. I would love for new topics and feedback. I do have a bunch to work through, but also we're going to be doing some longer, like I said, feature videos. I think we've got one series that we talked about doing that really is going to be me with my lovely whiteboard at work, and I will break down some of these ideas a little bit more, draw some pictures. I'm a very visual person, but for now, thank you guys. I will be, I think I mentioned it the other night on my social media. This is all the stuff is new to me, but on my social media engines or pages, I will be at the Arnold Classic for the first time this year. You know, I'm so excited because I am such a big fan of this sport. I've got a lot of friends I'm going to hope that I can see and catch up with, and maybe meet some of people that I haven't actually met in person, which would be awesome. I'm going to warn you though, I'm really short. People don't actually understand that until they meet me for the first time, and then they're like, you're really, really short. So you've all been warned now. But anyways, I'm starting to ramble. My coffee's getting a little bit cold, so I kind of want to get back to drinking that. But Arnold Classic beginning of March. I will be available for consults if anybody's even interested with that. Consults, it's pretty much for me, like I call it the power hour. It's a little bit over an hour, but I sit down and break down a lot of the questions that people have individual for themselves. So if you are interested, please shoot me a message, either just info@victoriafelkar.com, or even just, a message on Facebook. That's cool too. But please let me know if that's something that interests you or your coach, or I don't even know. If anybody wants to do like a joint one, we could probably set that up too. So let me know. I am so grateful that you guys are actually interested in hearing what I have to say. I am now going on, it's daunting, 14:04. So thank you guys again, and I cannot wait to bring you more videos in the future. Have a great day.